I don't even know the real me anymore. I can't even show how I feel. I hit the floor, I'm talking rock bottom. My feelings I fought 'em. I can't believe it's come to this, 'cause I need a grip on reality. Yeah, now I wanna feel.
Hello, my name is Jen. I am 23 years old and I have been cosplaying since 2000. I currently work third shift, so I don't see the light of day very often.
Hello, my name is Katie. I am a 21-year-old graphic artist, and I have been cosplaying for about 6 or 7 years now.
Hello, my name is Pauline. I'm 19 years old, and I've been a cosplayer for about 7 years now.
My name is Arielle. I am 21 years old, and I've been cosplaying since 2004. I'm a senior photo major at the University of Illinois at Chicago.
Hi everyone, I'm Annette Pizzo. I'm 22 years old. I've been cosplaying for 5 years now, and I go to school at Blue Water College of Cosmetology.
Hi guys, I'm Laura Miller. I'm 22 years old as well, and I've been cosplaying for almost 3 years now. I attend Oakland University and I work at Joann's.
So how would I define cosplay? Cosplay is defined in the Japanese culture as costume play. It's actually people running around in costume of their favorite characters. It's actually a really big deal in Japan. However, my personal definition of costume play, cosplay, I do consider it costume play. We're running around in costume after all.
I would define cosplay by bringing the characters that I love to life. It's something that I can do to show who I am. And it's not just dressing up as some cartoon character. It's something that defines who you are. Just as jocks play sports and singers sing, cosplayers show their love for their hobby by bringing their favorite characters to life.
Cosplaying is pretty much just, costume play. You get to go and run around and dress up as a childhood, character that you loved since you were a kid, or someone from a fandom that you like nowadays. And, you get to just dress as them, act as them, and have a lot of fun.
The word cosplay originated in Japan as a literal cross between costume and roleplay. I define cosplay as the act of making and wearing costumes from Japanese anime, manga, video games, and pop culture references. In recent years, cosplay has also encompassed Western cultural references, such as American comics, science fiction, historical references, movies, TV shows, and books.
Most people start off with the play on words where cosplay comes from as costume play, which basically describes what it is. It's where you dress up as your favorite anime, movie, video game, original, any type of character that you want to, and you wear it around.
So, my cliched response that I normally expect when I tell people I dress up for my hobby, that normally when people are like, what do you do with your free time? And I tell them I cosplay, and then I get, what? I run around in a costume as my favorite character like a dork at an anime convention. I normally don't expect very positive responses to that.
I've gotten so many different responses, I honestly don't know what to expect anymore. But the most common responses I receive are strange looks, like, why would you even do that?
The response I get most often for, after I tell someone, oh, I cosplay, they give me a look and just ask, well, what's that? And, after I tell them what it is, they just kind of go, oh. And then I get more funny looks.
I always cringe after I say it, expecting that initial, oh, so you're one of those people, or aren't you a little too old to be dressing up? But so far, besides my own mother, I have gotten a very positive response when telling people for the first time that I cosplay. Most seem at least interested or vaguely aware of what it is.
So usually, people think you're weird.
They're like, you do what?
Right.
I'm trying to catch my skin.
Normally, I've found that people tend to think that all cosplayers are anime nerds who live in their mom's basement or struggle for a living and waste their money on a hobby that, you know, is useless to them. And they're those typical nerds that are portrayed in everyday media. You know, the comic book nerds that have no life and pimples all over their face.
Well, some people already have the conception that if you're a cosplayer, if they know a little bit beforehand, that you're one of those Comic-Con nerds that dress up as something and they can't wrap their heads around it because it's too weird.
I think people that don't cosplay, you know, they think of cosplayers as, in a way, kind of freaks, and then in a way, you know, they may go out and say, oh, well, you cosplay, that's really, really weird.
I think most people outside of the cosplay community would believe it to be a fetish or pornographic culture. Many people I've asked if they know what cosplay is immediately associate it with girls in sexy schoolgirl outfits with hordes of 40-year-old men photographing them. They probably think a cosplayer is either a scantily clad girl dressing up for attention or the super geek who never grew up and still lives in their parents' basement with no job.
Nerds. Basically, or freaks or dorks. What other names?
Antisocial. Anything like that. Anything.
They think you don't have a life.
Yeah, they usually have a negative connotation to it.
Okay, honestly, I explain cosplay to complete strangers all the time. So, I'll explain it to cosplay to a complete stranger the same way I always do. Cosplay is costume play, it's running around in an anime convention like a nerd, having a good old time with your buddies in a costume of somebody you love. It's simple, that's just what cosplay is.
Well, I would ask them to think of a character or series or something that they love, not especially anime. You can cosplay from really anything. And then I'd ask them what they thought if they could be that character or that character could come to life. And if they said they would like it or something of the sort, I'd tell them that's basically what cosplay is.
I usually explain it as making and wearing costumes from Japanese anime, manga, video games, and pop culture references. I might also note that Western cosplay includes American cultural references, but mostly save the details for if they're still interested in talking about the topic. I also try to throw in an example of well-known cosplay that has made it into mainstream media, just to make it a bit easier to imagine.
Well, usually you gotta start off, because usually when you tell people you cosplay, they're like, what's that? And then you're like, you know, when you dress up from like anime or video games and stuff, and they're like, well, what's anime?
My first impression upon seeing cosplay, I think I found it back in like 2005. I found people in costume online from conventions and pictures, and I was like, what is this nonsense? This is the coolest thing I've ever seen. People actually, like, do this? Not just me? Like, other people think this is cool?
And so the very first time I saw cosplay, I was basically too excited for words because I never knew you could dress up as one of those characters.
When I first started getting into anime and getting into seeing different cosplayers, you know, my first response was, wow, this is really cool. They actually went out and, you know, made their outfits or commissioned them so they can take amazing pictures more often than not of, you know, their outfits and trying to portray the character that they're trying to be.
When I first found out about cosplay, I was 12 or 13 years old doing Google image searches of my favorite video game characters. I found photos of people dressed up as those characters in the searches. At first I was really weirded out. I thought this had to be the strangest thing I had ever seen. But the more I found these photos and the cosplay community I discovered from them, it made me want to cosplay and be a part of it. I was mesmerized. I thought it was amazing to see all these 2D designs and fictional characters come to life in the 3D tangible world. As a teenager, it was a pretty influencing experience.
I learned it after, I think it was that convention I kind of picked up on that and learned that, but I pulled into the parking lot and saw people all dressed up in the parking lot, and that got me so excited. And then I walked in and more people were dressed up, and I just got like so excited and seeing characters that I knew, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's so and so, and it just got me so excited, which made me so excited about conventions.
And I had heard about it through my cousin, and I was like, what do you do at an anime convention? Because I knew what anime was and stuff like that, but I didn't know there were conventions based around it. And he's like, oh, we go to panels and we cosplay, and I'm like, what is cosplay? So he had to explain to me what that was, and I was like, oh, that's so cool. So of course I wanted to do it.
Okay, the cosplay culture as a whole, like the whole cosplay community, are like the coolest people I've ever met. Someone is always there to help you. Someone is always there to encourage you. Someone is always there to go, do it. Because that would be sweet. Someone is always there to have your back. And be like, yeah, I can help you with that. It's so friendly. It's so open. It's the nicest people I've ever met. I've never had people have my back as much as I have when it comes to cosplay.
Well, just like any culture, you have your cosplayers that are stuck up because they know they're so good. And then there are those who are completely new, and those who are shy, those who are open. It's basically like any other culture. And then by the end of the day, we're basically just part of the same community. And at a convention, the age, race, gender, anything, disabilities, it doesn't matter. We're all one big family because we all have at least one common interest, and just all stereotypes fly out the door when you're part of the community. We're basically just a big family that spreads all across the world.
Cosplay culture is not a voyeuristic culture. However, this doesn't mean that cosplayers do not take advantage of the sexualized imagery in anime, video games, pop culture, etc. I'll admit that cosplay has a lot to do with attention and confidence. Cosplayers like the attention they receive for their costumes. The more photos, compliments, even awards that they get, the better they feel, and rightly so for those who spend hundreds of dollars and countless hours making their costumes. The cosplay community definitely has its negative sides by stressing perfection as the ultimate goal for both the costume and the cosplayer. Although there's a lot of superficial negativity in the cosplay community, most try to be friendly and supportive. Cosplay is, after all, a social activity.
And everybody in the community, save for a few people that I've met, have been like super helpful, have been really open to suggestions or help you, give you suggestions or tips or anything like that, and you get a lot of compliments.
You meet the nicest people, and everyone's so loving at conventions. They really are. Like
it is really like a big family, and a lot of people refer to everybody that they go to conventions to as their cosplay family. Yeah, and it makes me proud to be a member of such an awesome community.
Well, I guess that's
pretty much it. Thank you, Karrissa, for asking us to be a part of your project. We love you.
Yep, we love you. Much love. And we hope you get an A